want to talk a little bit about former President Trump here for a moment. He's in a lot of legal trouble as it stands. It's only made him stronger as a candidate in 2024, which I think speaks a lot to the kind of legal trouble that he's in and what's being weaponized against him. I want to ask you, what do you think of the cases that are being alleged of the former president, and do you think that they should matter to the American people?
Well, look, when the FBI raided the home of a former president of the United States, I was among the first to denounce that. Look, I was on the Judiciary Committee for many years. I understand how the Justice Department is supposed to work. And there had to be, Rob, a dozen different ways to resolve the issue of classified documents in the president's residence. I had dealings with that of my own after we did a voluntary search of our residence. And so it seemed to me to be a gross overreach. And I've also made it clear that, look, January 6th was a tragic day. I know that by God's grace, I did my duty that day under the Constitution of the United States. But I had hoped that issues around the president's conduct and actions on that day and leading up to that day would be left to the judgment of the American people and not be brought into the courts of this country. I trust the people of Iowa, the people of New Hampshire, the people of this country to sort out the qualifications and the merits of all of us as candidates. And so I know the former president very well. We haven't talked in a while, but we used to talk and work together every day for the better part of 5 years in a campaign and in our administration. I know that he can defend himself in court, and I'm sure he'll continue to. But look, ultimately, I'd like to see these issues resolved by voters, by the American people, and if I'm president of the United States, I promise you, we're going to clean house of the entire top floor of the Justice Department on day one, and we're going to install not just an Attorney General and a Director of FDI, but men and women of integrity at the highest levels of the Justice Department who people on both sides of the aisle will recognize are committed to the application and enforcement of the law without fear or favor or partisanship.
Thank you. Let's talk about the economy and the Pence plan to cut the deficit, sir. You advocate that spending should be about 1/5 of the economy and limited to that. And, you know, we have to ask, so what gets cut? Obviously, everyone is in favor of cuts, but not when it's their own pet project. So realistically, how would you get Congress to come on board? And what stands to be on the chopping block? I mean, we're talking Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits. What's your plan when it comes to those issues?
Well, look, I know Congress well, and having served there, and also having worked with the legislature when I was governor and worked with the Congress when I was vice president, this all takes presidential leadership. If the American people are going to wait until Congress comes up with a plan to balance the budget and to tackle the national debt, we're going to be waiting a really long time. Because in a very real sense, I think this takes national leadership that goes to the American people and is straight with the people of this country about the debt crisis that we're facing. Look, Bidenomics is a total failure. Joe Biden came in, he spent $2 trillion in the name of COVID that was completely unnecessary. That launched the worst inflation in 40 years. That's been literally robbing the pocketbooks and wallets of Americans ever since the administration started. What you do is undo the unnecessary spending of the Biden administration. I think you turn off about $3 trillion in spending. You freeze non-defense spending. But for heaven's sakes, Bianca, I have to tell you, and I think I was the first, and I'm still one of the few Republican candidates that I am going to go to the American people with a plan for common sense and compassionate reforms that not only preserve Social Security for those that are in it today, but reduces the mountain range of debt facing our children and our grandchildren. I call it, here's my plan. I pitched it in New Hampshire over the weekend and had some young people that liked it. Okay. I say to people, real simple, if you got hair the same color as me, these reform, we're not going to change anything in Social Security. Right? If you're in retirement today, no change. If you're 40 years old or older, no change. But if you're under the age of 40, I'd like to have a conversation. Because the reality is that if we don't reform these programs for younger Americans and change their trajectory of debt, that $33 trillion national debt becomes $150 trillion in 25 years. I think younger Americans are ready for that reform. And here's what I tell them. Last thought. I'll take this New Deal program of Social Security and I'll make you a better deal. Here's the better deal. If you, as a younger American, if you're willing to let me change the age that you retire, maybe put a means test in if you make a great living your whole life and you don't really need retirement support. In exchange for that, I'm going to let you take a portion of your Social Security payroll tax and put it in a personal savings account. Here's how it works. What we put into Social Security today, every one of us, we get back about a 1% return on that. But if I let you take a portion of your payroll tax and put it into a personal savings account and it does 2%, you get to retirement. You actually have resources that are your own, and you've made twice the return that you would have gotten on Social Security. That's what I mean by saying you take a New Deal program, make it a better deal. But I'd take that to the American people, and that's the way that we head off the debt crisis. And I promise you that this national debt is the principal driver of inflation today. We can tackle inflation if we put our nation back on a path of fiscal responsibility and a balanced federal budget, and I will.